Hello YouTube, I'm Jack Clark, the Eagle Musketeer, coming to you with, I guess this will be my preparation for YCS Brighton. WK Dad, originally he did a road to YCS Kansas City, and such, I thought, oh, I'll do my own version. Casper050 is also doing his own version. He called Victory Road, which I think is pretty cool. I don't have a name for my segment, so if you have a name for this groovy segment, which is basically Road to YCS Brighton, think of a cool name for this segment down below and post that, and the best one will become the name, I guess. But yes, this is, of course, my prep for YCS Brighton, so I hope that I'll get a couple more of these videos in time before YCS Brighton. Before I go any further, actually, Casper050, a very cheeky comment that you placed on your video for your first Victory Road, kind of Road to YCS Brighton video, is that he was talking basically about dueling in real life compared to dueling network, and if that sounds familiar, yes, it is the idea that I did. And he said, oh yes, this is an idea that Yu-Gi-Oh! Musketeer brought up, and I was like, okay, at least he's credited me. And then I was kind of jokingly wrote, oh, you nicked my idea, and then he wrote, oh no, I've been planning to do this for a while, but you brought up a good point. Well, yeah, planning to do this for a while? Bullshit. Just it's fine. I brought up a good point, that's okay. I was jokingly, but nah. But yes, anyway. So, YCS Brighton, if you don't already know, I am using my Watt deck. I am going there with the intention to actually win some duels. I'm not just going there just for fun, although obviously that's why I'm using my Watt deck, is because it's fun. If I wanted to win and not caring about fun, I'd be running Dark Worlds. I do have Dark Smog, and I do have Fabled Raven. So I could very well easily make a very, very good Dark World deck, but I'm not doing that. I'm using Watts. So, what am I doing with my Watt deck? Okay, so FanJ7, if you don't already know, he's a Watt duelist, and we have kind of been going back and forth throughout videos, and other people have been commenting on my Watt-related videos, especially the deck profile, in which people have been suggesting new cards and ideas. Some of them have been good, some of them have been bad. I'm going to go through what I think is good and what I think is bad, and what personal tech that I'm going to be using at YCS Brighton and what I've been testing currently. So, yes. Okay, let's first off. Watt Pheasant. I would like to highlight the importance of Watt Pheasant in Watts. People who run Watts are using this card less and less. They're using 0 or 1 copy, and people are not even using. They're saying, "Oh, I'd rather use another giraffe." No, this is so good, especially with the decks this format who are relying so much more on Xyz monsters. Many decks are using Tour Guide, and the fact that they can go into Tour Guide, go into another Tour Guide on their first turn, and then Xyz for Zen mains, this card punishes those kinds of plays, especially against agents who will also do the Zen mains play, but also their bread and butter play is to summon Venus, summon 3 Shine Balls, and then go for Gachi Gachi. Summon Watt Pheasant, it can attack directly, and when it does attack directly, you can banish the Xyz monster until the end of the turn, and then of course it returns to the field, and then it hasn't got any Xyz materials because it's left the field. But of course, it's a very good card anyway. If my opponent has an annoying Cayenne token from Gauze, then I can get rid of that. If they have loads of tokens from their Dandelion, I can use this again. So it's a very good card, and also it's very good at moving stuff from the field from play, which are troublesome to my monsters. I mean, on occasion I have gone up against a Ryo, and Ryo I did used to main. It doesn't hurt me too much, but if I've got a Pheasant on the field and I've got a Watt Cobra who gains his effect to when he attacks directly, you can add a Watt to your hand, but of course with Ryo on the field you can't use Watt Cobra. So this is where Pheasant comes in. I attack directly with Pheasant, do 1,000 damage, remove from play the Ryo until the end of the turn, then I can attack with him and then he'll get in his effect. And of course, the Ryo will return at the end of the turn, so that means that during main phase 2 I can activate Pot of Duality, and then end of the turn they get back their Ryo, but I have completely bypassed its negative points and what makes it such an annoying card in the first place. So yeah, Watt Pheasant, very good. I use 2 in my deck. I've upped it from 1 to 2. I wouldn't run 3 simply because I like to keep my direct attacker ratio to my protection ratio. I'd like to keep them somewhat in balance just for consistency's sake. So yes, let's go for another monster. A very controversial monster that I've mentioned in all my videos. Shining Angel. Shining Angel is, I have always kind of advocated simply because it's advantage. It's another way of getting Cobra from your deck to your to your side of the field. Of course, what Dragonfly also fulfills that role, but this can also get honest. This also has 1400 attack points, which makes it a bit more of a sturdier monster if I want to go on the offensive with it. But I do understand the points that Vanjay and some other people have brought, is that it's too slow, its effect can easily get gotten around of, and it's just not as good. I do understand, and I have actually taken it out of my build currently. I'm testing without it, and I have found that, like I said, when I've wanted to draw a direct attacker, I have drawn Ryo or Shining Angel. Because it's not a Watt monster, and it can't attack directly or anything, it is not as good as it could be. And of course, its effect can get rid around of. So yes, I've taken that out of my deck for the time being, and once I did take it out, it actually got me in touch with what I loved about the AggroWatt deck compared to the HopperWatt deck in the first place. For those of you who don't know, the HopperWatt deck uses Watthopper, but it dedicates itself to that. So Watthopper, you run 3 copies of Watthopper and a load of other cards to necessitate getting 2 on the field. So that's a lot of space in the deck to be focusing just on those. But with the AggroWatt deck, you have that space has been freed up, and you have so much room for tech. And again, with just the same thing, getting rid of Shining Angel has freed it up a lot of tech space I now have. Plus, like Vanjay 7 and other people have said, I do have Cobra and Dragonfly to already search out all my stuff, so it doesn't hurt as much. So yes, I'm not using Shining Angel anymore, just because the tech I'm using is actually far superior and much more worth using than Shining Angel. I still think it's a very good card, but I'm now using tech which kind of trumps it in usefulness. But before I go to that, I'm also using Sangan, which is just useful. I mean, what I loved about Shining Angel in addition to that is that it could search for Honest, but it doesn't really matter anymore, I'm using Sangan. But yes, other main things is Luminize. People have suggested Luminize to me constantly, and I would like to compare it to another card in the deck that I am maining, and why I'm not using Luminize, and why, if people keep on asking me to use Luminize, I'm going to go batshit mental. Right, I'm using Magic Cylinder in the deck, I'm not using Luminize. I will tell you why. This deck consists of light monsters, yes, so Luminize is very useful, but they would attack directly. If I was using a deck where they didn't all necessarily attack directly, then yes, Luminize would be worth it. Simply because, for example, my opponent has a Thunder King Ryo and I have a Watt Cobra on the field. Their monster attacks. I use Magic Cylinder, they take 1900 damage and negates the attack. I use Luminize, my Cobra gains 1900, making it 3900 and negates the attack. Next turn, I direct attack with Cobra, doing 1000 damage or 3900 damage. If you add it up, you do the same amount of damage that you would have done either way, except Magic Cylinder does more damage in one fair swoop, whilst Luminize will still do the same damage, but it will require your monster to attack. If for some reason I don't think it's right to attack next turn, then Luminize's boost is kind of pointless. But still, I do the same amount of damage, but in a fairer swoop. So that's why I use Magic Cylinder and not Luminize. I'm not going to use Luminize in addition to it, also because neither of them are chainable, and I just don't want to draw it as often. Other stuff. Ceasefire. Ceasefire is fantastic in this deck, simply because get rid of annoying Ryakos, annoying Gravekeeper's Spy. Yeah, but really it's just another way to facilitate doing as much damage as possible, which is the point of an AggroWatt deck. This was initially personal tech, but now I'm advocating it in all AggroWatt builds, simply because you're trying to do as much damage as fast as possible. You don't want your opponent to have to wait another turn to attack directly if you can finish them off with a Ceasefire. Plus it's chainable, which is lovely. Now to the main kind of bit of tech I'm going to be using for YCS Brighton. First off is Tragodia. Tragodia I quite like, simply because not only is it another form of stall when I take damage, I can summon it, it can block an attack at least. But with Watt Cobra, I have found that on occasion that I can amass hand advantage to the point where I can't utilise it efficiently, simply because the Watts don't have like the special summoning capabilities that Blackwings do, so I can't like get him from my hand to get field advantage or something. But With it, I can amass a Tragodia, which has actually got some decent attack points. In addition, its effect allowing me to gain control of their monsters. There are a hell of a lot of level 4s, and level 4 is the most commonly used monster at the moment. I think it's kind of tying for place this format with level 3. So being able to take control of their Ryo, for example, then make its level 4, go for a Utopia is very, very beneficial. But mainly, I quite like the idea that they do damage, I can block an attack at least. That is the bare minimum that I use with it. And since I'm very back row reliant, I will rather use that than Gauze, simply because Gauze requires to have nothing on the field at all. Last but not least, I did mention in my previous video this card, Lava Golem. Now, generally this has been side deck staple for me, simply because it is that good. But now I'm meaning it because it's really good. There's nothing quite like my opponent having a Shien and a Landois on the field, and then I contribute them for this. And then attack. And people will say, but oh, it's got 3,000 attack, that's quite bad for me. And yes, it is quite bad. However, when you're using stuff like Magic Cylinder, and you've got at least 5, maybe even 6 forms of chainable protection, I am yet to have an attack from Lava Golem actually connect with my life points. That's how good, and it is especially, of course, it is especially good with Magic Cylinder, because there's nothing quite like my opponent attacking with Lava Golem and then Magic Cylinder. So not only did they take 1,000 damage for that turn due to Lava Golem, but I can continue adding more damage with my Watt direct attackers. So yes, that's pretty much it. There's a long ass video, but I hope I've given you some interesting ideas for maybe your own Watt deck, and I hope I've kind of made some questions a bit more clearer. So yes, if you do have any more questions or thoughts of a Watt or any card suggestions, post those in the comment down below. Click on the top left annotation of the screen to be taken to a previous video, and the top right annotation to be taken to a future video. If there's not one there will be there one soon. I'm Jack Clark, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Musketeer. Goodbye.